Hey everyone, Jeremy. I've been using the Xiaomi Mix Fold 3 for just a weekend, and today we're going to do an unboxing and a more in-depth hands-on. I'll show you the result of the few benchmarks I've been able to run, various settings, and most importantly what the phone looks like. I also make a more comprehensive video after I've used it for a bit longer because this is an imported model that I bought from trading Shenzhen. It's not intended to be sold outside of China, and for this type of phone it's usually after a few days or weeks that we can discover any potential software limitation. As far as hardware goes, there is really nothing to complain about, as you'll see. If you have any lingering questions, please leave them in the comments and I'll include them in the next video. For the unboxing, the box follows the familiar style of Xiaomi smartphones but in a larger format because the phone arrives unfolded. Inside we have a 67-watt charger and a USB to USB-C cable. The format is in the Chinese style and an adapter is provided by the website. Additionally, there is a SIM card ejector tool, documentation, and a protective case consisting of two parts to protect the phone and allow it to stand upright when placed on the table. In my case, I don't plan to use it, but it's nice to have it included just like the charger. In terms of design, the phone measures 10.9 mm in thickness when folded and only 5.3 mm when unfolded, with a weight of 259 grams for this black glass version with a vegan leather effect. It's also available in gold and in carbon fiber version within 255 grams. On the back of the phone there's a ceramic camera module consisting of 4 lenses, an ultra-wide angle, a wide angle, a 3.2x zoom, and a 5x zoom with the Leica branding indicating a partnership with the camera brand, similar to the Xiaomi 13 Ultra for example. At the top you'll find the speaker, the dual SIM tray, a microphone and an infrared emitter. On the right side there are the volume buttons and the power button, which includes a fingerprint reader. At the bottom there's a second speaker, a USB-C port that supports video output and another microphone. On the left side you'll find the hinge, which has been tested by TUV Runline to withstand 500,000 openings and is more durable than the previous model, allowing the phone to be positioned and held in multiple orientations. It doesn't have any IP rating for water or dust resistance, unlike the Z Fold 5, which is IPX8 for water resistance. Whether this is a negative point or not remains to be seen, as the lack of rating doesn't necessarily mean it won't resist water or dust. It simply means it hasn't been tested and certified, which is understandable given that this phone isn't intended for the global market, and it seems that in China they are less concerned about such certifications. So if it helps keep the price down, it's not a big issue in my opinion. So we have a thicker phone than a standard one, but in terms of dimension, it's still very close to a Xiaomi 13 Ultra, which measures 9.1 mm and weighs 227 grams. However, the Mix Fold 3 offers the advantage of transforming from an external 6.56-inch screen to an unfolded 8.03 inches screen. It's thinner and lighter than the Z Fold 5, whether folded or unfolded, but that's more interesting to me is that the external screen isn't as narrow as the one on the Fold. I had a Fold 2 in the past and I always appreciated the concept of this type of phone in a book-like format, but because the screen was too narrow I had to open it every time I wanted to type a message or do a search. Here the external screen has the same dimensions as a regular smartphone and you can do everything on it. In fact, at first glance you might not even realize it's a foldable smartphone. Continuing with the external screen, it's a 120Hz AMOLED display with HDR10+ and a peak brightness of 2600 nits, protected by Corning Gorilla Glass Victus 2. For the internal 8.03 inches screen, it's an LTPO OLED Plus display, also at 120 Hz, going up to 1300 nits. I won't go through all the specifications as you can find them online, but what's noticeable is that the crease is less visible than on a Z Fold. The selfie camera is located in the upper left corner once unfolded, it's not hidden under the screen, and there is no support for using a stylus, which I would have liked even if I'm not sure I would use it that much. You can adjust the refresh rate to the default setting or force it to 60 or 120 Hz. Colors can be adjusted as well. In my case, I left it on the Pro color mode. Other than that, we have two very good screens for everyday tasks. You can use the external screen for reading notifications, replying to messages, and browsing social media. When you want to consume content, play games, surf the web, or even edit a video in CapCut, you can switch to the internal screen. I haven't encountered any display issue or resizing problem with the various apps that I use, and for productivity tasks it's quite enjoyable, allowing you to read emails, have multiple windows open, etc. The external screen isn't LTPO to lower the refresh rate significantly and extend battery life, but I ran a battery life test on this external screen and I was pleasantly surprised by the result, which I'll show you shortly. In terms of the processor, the phone is equipped with the Snapdragon 8 Gen 2, available with 12 or 16GB of RAM and storage option of 256GB, 512GB or 1TB, or using LPDDR5X and UFS 4.0. There are no slowdown issue when switching between screens or apps. So far I've only played Call of Duty Mobile and you can already see that you can set the FPS to max and very high for graphical quality and even go ultra for FPS, although it reduced the quality to low. I also ran some benchmark and I'll display the results for AnTuTu, PCMark, Geekbench and 3DMark, where I did a wildlife test and a 20-minute stability test, as well as SolarBay, a new test that resembles gaming condition. As you can see, the scores are very good, no complaints there. You can really enjoy the large screen for gaming, video editing, photo editing and other demanding tasks. It also has L1 DRM, so there are no issues with watching Full HD videos on platforms like Netflix, Disney Plus or Amazon Prime Video. This would have been disappointing for a device of this type to not support it. It has all the latest technologies such as Wi-Fi 6E, Wi-Fi 7, video output via the USB port, although it's in mirror mode only, there is no desktop mode like Samsung's DeX for example. The smartphone runs on Android 13 and MIUI Fold 14, with similar menus overall and a section dedicated to foldable device functions. Inside there are options for floating windows, what happens when you close the phone, special wallpapers that animate based on the screen's opening, keyboard customization option and more. You can also manage apps, choosing whether they are open in full screen or not, as well as games. You could see how this works with Call of Duty Mobile while I set it up to full screen. There's also the hover or flex mode similar to Samsung, which allows you to fold the phone halfway to have control on the bottom and video on the top. It's available with camera, Mi Video and music apps, but it also works on YouTube, although it's not mentioned there. I mean, my usage of this type of phone, I mainly use it for photo and video purposes. Speaking of which, there are 4 cameras on this phone, while other smartphones of this type typically have 3. There's a 50 megapixel main sensor, a 3.2x zoom, a 5x zoom each at 10 megapixel and a 12 megapixel ultra wide angle. In addition, there are 2 20 megapixel selfie cameras, one on the outside and one on the inside, mainly for video calls. I've taken some photos over the weekend and I'll share more in the full video. I also tried to compare it to the Xiaomi 13 Ultra. The 13 Ultra will more likely perform better given its focus on photography, but it's interesting to see how significant the difference will be. One of the advantages is that you can overcome the typical Xiaomi smartphone weakness of the selfie camera, which is usually not great and doesn't support 4K video recording. Here you can use the main camera for these purposes and see yourself in the return screen. There's a noticeable difference in quality when switching between the 2 cameras, and you can also use the ultra wide angle depending on the situation to include more people or for vlogging. You can also record in 8K at 24 FPS, and from what I've seen so far the results are pretty good. As for the battery life, the phone has 4800 mAh battery and supports 67 watt wired fast charging with the included charger and 50 watt wireless charging. I used the PCMark application to perform an automated test with the screen closed and I achieved 13 hours and 50 minutes with the default settings. For comparison, from what I remember, the Xiaomi 13 Ultra lasted about 10 hours in a similar test. I also repeat the test with the screen open next time, but I expect it to be around 7 hours. So it's a good point if you often use it with the screen closed, as you'll get at least as much battery life as a regular phone. Regarding charging, it took me 40 minutes to go from 20 to 100% and a bit less than 50 minutes to charge it from 0 to 100% with the phone turned off. Regarding the price, as mentioned earlier, I bought it from Trading Shenzhen and you can find it priced between 1,500 euros and 1,900 euros depending on the configuration, ranging from 12 GB and 256 GB to 16 GB and 1 TB, with option in between. As mentioned before, it's not intended to be sold in Europe, so if you're interested, you'll have to import it. It comes with English language only and Chinese, lacks some 4G frequencies band and doesn't have Google services out of the box, although you can manually add the Play Store. It also lacks Android Auto, for example, and there's a chance that some apps may not work properly. I haven't encountered any issue with the apps that I use daily, and I've had 4G or 5G connectivity without any problem so far, but it depends on the nearby cell towers, of course. So after a weekend of using this phone, this is just a preliminary conclusion, but I'm very happy with it so far. I really like that the external screen is wider than the Samsung Z Fold, which used to force me to open the phone every time I wanted to type something. Here there's no much difference in terms of size, external screen or thickness compared to the Xiaomi 13 Ultra. Then you can unfold it and you get all the advantages of foldable phone, whether for watching videos, playing games, reading and answering email, etc. As mentioned before, I'll prepare a more in-depth video with my feedback after 1 week or 2 weeks of use. At the beginning I didn't plan to keep it, but after just 1 weekend I must say that I'm really considering it. If you have any question or thing you'd like to see in the next video, please let me know in the comments and I'll see you in the next one.